Hello, and welcome to MHStv. I'm Parker Norris, and these are your announcements for Thursday, February 21st. Due to the abundance of snow days we have had in the last few weeks, there will be a total of 6 days required to be made up. January 23rd will be made up on March 15th. January 29th will be made up on April 22nd. January 30th and 31st, as well as February 12th and 13th, will be made up from June 4th to June 7th. At last week's school board meeting, a recess day was approved for all staff and students for the Indiana primary voting that will take place on May 7th, 2019. There will be no school that day, as voting will take place at many area schools. The next school board meeting will take place on February 27th at 7 p.m. at Holmes Elementary School. I-step testing will continue through the rest of this week. Make sure to do your best and be on time. Now, here's Kyle Traxler with your sports update.
Thanks, Parker. Last Friday, the boys basketball team took a tremendous double overtime victory over John Glenn with a score of 65-59. Sam Shively scored a team-high 14, AJ Rosebush added 11, and CJ Fisher had a big night off the bench with 10 points. On Saturday, the makeup games for the Oregon Donation Classic took place.
22 years ago, I had a liver transplant, a very, very rare liver disease, and my donor was a 19-year-old student at the University of Kentucky, actually in music school at the University of Kentucky, so obviously I have a great love for music. I think about him all the time. And so it's always very important to me to be able to raise awareness for organ donation.
So you're probably wondering what an organ donor looks like. An organ donor looks like you, they look like me, they look like anyone sitting next to you. They looked like my son. He was a bass player in our church worship team, and at the age of 19, he became an organ donor. You can see him. He's on the posters in the boys' locker room here, on the cross-country posters. He's also painted in the cafeteria. He's the cross-country runner that's closest to the auditorium. He was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver.
Our 16-year-old daughter, Kelsey, was also involved in an auto accident, just similar to Rob's.
On that night, my husband and I knew exactly what we were going to do when we were approached about organ donation. You see, when he got his driver's license, he decided then that he was going to be an organ donor. And we had had a whole conversation about it, so we knew what his choice was.
We began to have that conversation no parents want to have. You know, how long do we hold on, and are we okay with organ donation? So we made 2 commitments to each other that night, that early morning. First, we're not going to let this tragedy tear our family apart. And secondly, if we could do any good, we'd do that, and it would begin with organ donation.
So I encourage you to think about this very, very important decision and then talk about it with your loved ones.
And remember what I always say. I say this all the time, guys. Don't take your organs to heaven. Heaven knows we need them here.
In the first game, Indianapolis-Scecina lost to South Bend Adams 75-55. In the second game, the Mishawaka boys defeated Lakeland in a close game with a score of 58-55. The Cavemen maintained control of the entire game from start to finish. Congratulations to the 4 Mishawaka wrestlers who competed in state competition last weekend. They were Brendan Mark, Joseph Walker, Jacob LaPlace, and Gabe Weeks. Junior Joe Walker made it to the podium, losing the 5th place match. Good job on placing 6th. Good luck next season. Track practice is underway. Keep looking at the Mishawaka Network as we will be broadcasting coverage of the track meets when they begin at the end of March. Come out to see the Cavemen athletes on the brand new track. Coming up this weekend is the Champions Together Polar Plunge, in which Mishawaka students will brave the elements to raise money for Special Olympics Indiana. MHStv reporters Evan Bordner and Alex Glassner will be out to cover the event. Now here's a special MHStv report from Isaac Hayes.
Thanks, Kyle. As many of you may know, the use of e-cigarettes and vaping have become a major issue here at Mishawaka High School. So us at the Mishawaka Network have created a 2-part story about the issue and how it's not only affecting our school, but our community.
Vaping has become the new popular cigarette in today's times. Very popular amongst our teens and our preteens.
It's not allowed, just like any tobacco products. We don't allow chewing tobacco, cigarettes, vaping. So if you're caught with a vape pen, it's an out-of-school suspension. If you're caught a second time, it'll be 2 days, and it's progressive like that. And that's another concern of mine with vaping, is it's so low-key or easy to hide or conceal that I think that's why it's more rampant. You know, kids hiding in the bathroom when the teacher's not looking in class, things like that.
The Caveman Code treats vaping just like it would nicotine. So if you get turned in for possession of vaping or for using vape, then it's treated the same as it would be for nicotine. So you lose up to 10% of the season for your first offense, and then from there it increases to 25%, 50%, or even more, and then practice is at the discretion of the coaches. Unfortunately, we've had several athletes this year turned in for vaping, and I think that number is increasing just because athletes don't understand that vaping is considered nicotine and that it is illegal. And if you especially get caught on school premises with vape, that you have a school consequence as well as a Caveman Code consequence. So I think that we need to get the word out to our athletes that you cannot get caught vaping and that it's unhealthy and you should not be doing it. And hopefully that number then will decrease and our athletes will not be vaping.
Yeah, we don't know that it's a safe alternative to smoking, and nicotine is very, very addictive. It's very difficult to quit. Some have said that it's harder than heroin to quit. So that's one of those habits that if you can possibly stay away from, absolutely do.
Stay tuned, as part 2 of the vaping epidemic will be coming very soon. In the second part, we will release results of a survey taken by you guys, the students. Back to you, Parker.
Thanks, Isaac. That's all your news for today. Shout out to Caitlin Ankney and Allison Gordon.